What's up, guys? Welcome back to Newswave. We have a lot of stuff to go over today because Nintendo and the Switch did something pretty big in Japan yesterday, at least when we found out about it in the Media Create sales charts, that seems to be showing a major shift in Japan, something we've been noticing for a while. It's been kind of a slow-moving train for a while because we've seen it coming where they were going to run into the PS4 in terms of sale numbers, but something pretty big happened on the game sales side that we're going to talk about here that seems to show the Switch absolutely taking over Japan, as we would kind of expect. First, though, we have some quick news to go over. Dragon Quest Builders 2. This is a game that a lot of people have been talking about because the first Dragon Quest Builders was actually fairly popular. People liked it. It was addicting. Trust me, I've talked to a lot of people that play this game a lot, and they say they can't get enough of it. It's very similar, apparently, to Minecraft with Dragon Quest and everything. I didn't really get into it, but I know a lot of people were really big fans of it, and a lot of people have been looking for Dragon Quest Builders 2. When is it coming out? Well, we at least know when it's coming out in Japan, which is going to give us an idea of when it's coming out in the US and other parts of the world at least a bit, because more like it's coming out after that, and it's coming out kind of late in December, actually. This was on a stream that they did. It's coming out December 20th. Yeah, so it's out 5 days before Christmas. But because it's out later on in December, more than likely it's going to come out to the US and other parts of the world probably in 2019. This could be a January, possibly a February release. I don't think they're going to move it overseas or anything in like mid to late December. I think they'd hold off till like a January or maybe a February release, because January is also getting kind of packed right now with several games kind of filling in there. Possibly a mid to early February release for it would actually be, I think, pretty good, and we'll see how sales go there at least December 20th in Japan, and then we'll see when they officially announce it for the Western audience. We also got to look at a new color for the Microsoft Xbox Elite controller and a new bundle along with a new color for their Xbox One X system that's going to come with Fallout 76. They actually put out stills, a trailer, and everything, and I was a little surprised by this because I'm waiting for this next Elite controller to get announced, but now they're showing off colors of their old Elite controller, it looks like. Here's some shots and even a video that they put out kind of showcasing it. This is the white version of the Xbox Elite controller. Of course, it'll have all the features of the original one, which is, again, weird because I keep hearing about this next version of the controller. It's going to cost $149.99, which falls in line with the original one, October 16th in the US, and it's going to be sold exclusively at the Microsoft stores in the US and at GameStop, whereas everywhere else in the world will have participating retailers and everything. So you'll have to kind of check in your area as to who is selling it. Then we had a Fallout 76 bundle, which is going to launch with the game, a wireless controller, and the, according to them, robot white version of the Xbox One X. That's what they're going with in their press release. And it's going to release November 14th. That will be $500 as expected. Also exclusive to the Microsoft Store and at GameStop in the US and outside the US. Again, check your participating retailers. It's very interesting to see this with the Elite controller. A bundle is expected. They do this a lot, right? Where a popular game's coming out, let's bundle it with our system. It'll help to sell our system. Oh, and the game. $500 for, I guess, a different color, different themed system along with Fallout 76. I mean, if you're already going to buy a new system for it, it's not a bad deal. It's just weird because they're going to sell this Elite controller, and then there's a possibility that next Elite controller could get announced later on in the month, like later on in October or in November. It's very weird because we heard so many rumors, and now here is a complete, like, the same Elite controller that we already know about, just in white. So that tells me it wouldn't get announced before this one comes out. So maybe after, or maybe they just run with it. They say, hey, look, here's the next Elite controller, the V2 or whatever, and it's more, or you can get the original one. We also talked about those Langrisser 1 and 2 remasters that are coming to the Switch and the PS4. No release dates, no information, but we did find out we were going to hear more about it towards the end of this month, and we did. We even got a release date for Japan again. It'll come over here at some other point, but keep in mind the Switch is region free, so if it's the same game that's going to be available here and other places in the world and has an English option you could switch to, we can just go on the eShop and just download it, or we can of course go on Amazon or other places that can order from Japan. We can get the physical copy here, but it's coming February 7th, which tells me probably mid to that, maybe even that summer, we could see it leave Japan and kind of come everywhere else in the world. February 7th, though, is a little sooner than I thought. I think a lot of people are thought it was going to be coming later on in 2019, but yeah, February 7th. There were some other details as well, saying that Langrisser 1 and 2 remakes will get new UI, new scenarios, new heroines, the different storylines will be branching, multiple endings, which is about what we expected since we've seen that with Langrisser 2. But it sounds like they are just building this up, and this is actually going to be a full-fledged remaster and everything. And it's exciting to see Langrisser 1 and 2, two games that I didn't think would be making a return, coming back. And with some of the quick news out of the way, let's jump into some of the bigger stuff, starting with the Media Create sales charts. These are, of course, the sales charts in Japan that specifically track retail over-the-counter purchases and sales, so it's all physical stuff. Does not count the eShop, the PlayStation Store, the Xbox Store for how many, tens of sales happen. No, I'm kidding. But we're going to look over these charts here. We're going to start with the top 10, and you're going to notice something pretty quick. One, a PlayStation 4 game did top the charts. It's actually Conan Exiles there at 32,117. Number 2, though, was the Nintendo Switch version of My Hero One's Justice that is out in Japan now. That's 24,626. Remember, that's coming out here the same day as Red Dead Redemption 2 at the end of October. Minecraft on the Switch at number 3, that's actually 18,234. It's hit 230,000 units now in Japan. That's pretty good. Splatoon 2 at number 4. And then at number 5, My Hero One's Justice debuts on the PS4 at 16,026, more than 8,000 less, actually about 8,600 less than the Nintendo Switch version. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe at number 6, the Drum and Fun at number 7, WarioWare Gold at 8, Mario Tennis Aces at 9, and The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild at number 10. Moving over to hardware, we see pretty much a drop for everything except the Xbox One, strangely. That's the one system that decided to be up this week. Nintendo Switch 46,259, PlayStation 4 at 22,838, 3DS 7,797, and then the PlayStation Vita 2,540, whereas the Xbox One did smash triple digits at 111. Also, the Xbox One is cruising to 100,000. It's actually less than 1,200 away, so in about 10 weeks, it'll be there, I guess. So this is a big deal for a few reasons. The biggest one is pretty clear. This is a day-and-date release for the Switch and the PS4, and the Switch handily outsold the PS4 version of My Hero One's Justice. This is something we've kind of seen this coming for a while now, as the Switch has been creeping up on the PS4's lifetime sales in Japan. I think most of us figured this was going to be happening soon. We kept seeing the amount of systems for the Switch rising up, whereas the PS4 was also going up, which the PS4 crossed 7 million in Japan. That's a big deal for a console, but the Switch is going to catch it, I think, at this point by the end of this year with Pokemon and Smash. We're going to see some very large weeks for the Switch, as long as they have stock there week after week after week, and I think it's going to pretty much sprint at one point past the PS4, but we're already seeing games like My Hero One's Justice just outsell the PS4 version pretty well, actually, in the first week. So we're going to see other day-and-date releases, I guess, come out, and we'll see how they go from here. But Bandai Namco put this game out, and they had to have noticed this pretty quickly, that the Switch is indeed taking over Japan on the console front for just the install size, and at this point for just games in general. Now, there was another PS4 game on the market here that actually topped the charts with Conan, but it's still interesting to see that people who went out and wanted My Hero decided to get the Switch version rather than the PS4 version. Not super surprising, though, in Japan, considering they like the portable aspect. It's going to be very interesting when that game launches in the US right next to Red Dead, because I think it's going to have a harder time against Red Dead, but you might actually see it sell better again on the Switch, mostly because there's no Red Dead on the Switch, and you might see Switch owners looking for something to buy that day, and, oh, My Hero came out, I'll just go pick that up, whereas PS4 people will definitely be on Red Dead Redemption. I know I will be. I mean, I'll be playing that probably on the Xbox One X. But still, it's going to be interesting to see, and we're going to have to keep an eye out now that this has kind of set the tone for the Switch versus like the PS4. Now we're going to have to keep an eye on any other day-and-date releases that launch alongside them and see if the Switch continues to overtake the PS4, because if that happens, then you're going to see Japanese developers really push to the Switch harder than ever. I mean, we see Grandia 1 and 2, they decided to go to the Switch and not the PS4, so you're starting to see that shift. If you like RPGs or you really like kind of Japanese-influenced games, you might want to go pick up a Switch soon. Next up, let's talk about the PlayStation Plus games of the month for September, because it's kind of funny to see this. This is actually a good month. I will at least give them credit. This is a good month. although one of the games is heavily depreciated very fast because they keep putting expansions out. One of them is Destiny 2, and they didn't want to wait. Bungie, Activision, they didn't want to wait at all. You could download that thing yesterday. They announced it and they're like, oh no, don't wait till September. Let them download it now because the Destiny 2, the base game, is worth like $10 now, I think, brand new at like GameStop and everything. It's not worth much. They want to get you in for that DLC. That's what they want. But Destiny 2, yes, is on PlayStation Plus for September, and you can download it right now. And it's kind of funny because it does tell us how far Destiny has already fallen. Destiny 2 has fallen. I mean, I've had Destiny 2 since before it came out. They actually sent me a copy and I played it and I was like, oh, this is cool. Destiny has really come a long way. Can you send me Destiny 2 now? I'm just kidding. But it's fallen off a bit. I still think a lot of people play it, and they have put out a roadmap and they are trying to change it and fix it and add stuff to it. So they are continuing to support it, but they are continuing to put out DLC after DLC after DLC, and I think that's what really hurts the first Destiny. It got away from them and people just stopped caring as much, and then the second one came out and people said this feels like the first one, and they're kind of doing the exact same thing. Now we hear about Bungie working with another company and they could be building something else, so I don't know, we'll see. But there you go, you can jump into Destiny 2. The other game is God of War 3 Remastered, which is a pretty good game to go get into, especially if you played the God of War now and this was like your first God of War. It's going to be a bit different. It is. I like where God of War is now compared to like God of War 3. I know some people are going to be annoyed by hearing that, but I like God of War where it is now compared to 3, mostly because Kratos is much more interesting in the newer one, whereas with the older one, he was just like a one-dimensional, straightforward character. Maybe some people like that. It's more of like an action, button-mashing kind of game, and it's still fun. 3 was really good. Visually, it was stunning, and I would check that one out too. Next up, let's talk about PAX West. This is coming up. It's actually starting tomorrow on the 31st, and it's going to run throughout the weekend. Now, of course, PAX generally has a lot of video game companies, developers, big publishers show up, and generally they'll have games there that are playable a lot of times for the first time. And we're actually seeing that here. We're going to go over some of the games that are going to be playable there. So if you're in the Seattle, Washington area and you want to go by PAX West and try out some of these games, or you're already going, this will hopefully give you an idea of what games to kind of look for and try out, because they have a pretty good list of some of the bigger ones, and even beyond that, there are a ton of like indie games and all kinds of stuff showing up there. Seriously, you could spend days just trying to play all the games and talk to all the developers, just trying to get something from them. It's pretty cool. Let's go down the list of some of the games here that you can try out when you get there. Firewatch on the Switch is actually playable for the first time there, which is really cool. So we'll see how that plays. I'm sure we'll get plenty of footage for it and everything. Devil May Cry 5 is going to be open to the public there, so you could try that out. Keep in mind, if you're doing poorly, the music's not going to be good, so don't blame the music if it's bad. Resident Evil 2 Remake will also be playable. Kingdom Hearts 3, Spider-Man, which makes a lot of sense since it's out next Friday, so they're going to have a big blowout here right before release. Shakedown Hawaii, somebody go play that, please, and tell me how it is. I need to know about this game. Media Molecules Dreams, which has been a confusing legacy of what this game is. Someone has to play that as well. Smash Bros. Ultimate, Super Mario Party, Pokemon Let's Go, and then a ton of other stuff. Those are a lot of the bigger titles that'll be playable there. And then I think it's gonna be a lot of fun. I also think there are some games that are not even announced yet and will be announced at PAX West. So it's kind of a barrage of game announcements right now with the indies that we had, and then the other indies that we had before, and then we had Gamescom, and now we have PAX West coming up, and then we'll probably have a Nintendo Direct before Tokyo Game Show. Then we have Tokyo Game Show. It's gonna be crazy, and a lot of stuff's gonna be happening over the next couple weeks, but it's exciting. So if you are going by PAX West, go try out some of these games. Somebody needs to go try out Shakedown Hawaii. I don't care who does it, but go there, get some footage, put it up on Twitter so I can see it. I'm curious how this game is kind of progressing here, and ask them if they have a release date. And our last bit of news, let's talk a bit about the other side of indie game success on the Switch. See, we always talk about indie games doing really well on the Switch, but I think it's also important to kind of look at indie games that maybe struggle or don't do that well, and we got an interesting look kind of into the back end of everything. Do you remember that game, Cosmic Star Heroine, that I actually played here? I really liked it. I said it reminded me of kind of Chrono Trigger with its art style and some of its ideas and the gameplay, and I said it was worth a pickup. I think it was like $15. It had previously come out on like Steam and the PlayStation 4 and everything. Well, the developer there actually went on Reset Era and talked about their experiences with Nintendo. They have since deleted all of their posts kind of explaining this, but they explained a very frustrating situation. And this is from Robert Boyd, who's the co-owner of the Cosmic Star Heroine developer, Zeboyd Games. Again, that's the game I was playing that looked pretty cool and like Chrono Trigger. They were talking on Reset Era, and they kind of just described how they had to go get a publisher to get on the Nintendo platform, and they did that. I said, okay, we'll go do that. And then from there, it was a pretty tough situation working with them. Apparently, Nintendo and them, they had a hard time getting their page updated so that they get pre-orders for it. And since then, they have not really had a lot of spotlight put on them, I guess, by Nintendo as an indie developer and what Nintendo's been doing. It's a little weird to hear that. Again, they have deleted a lot of their posts since then, and they did kind of go a bit further saying we'd be working towards getting more sales and everything, and it's not just Nintendo's fault for doing anything like that. It's also them. They should be working on it as well. So they're not necessarily blaming Nintendo. They're kind of casting a light on the other side of indie games kind of struggling with this. Took them a while to get their page updated so that they could, I guess, put a trailer even on it. It's very weird. They were even saying if Nintendo had given them a retweet, it might have even helped. It's just, and I do think there is some, they even bring up visibility issues in the eShop. I think that is an issue. If you look at the eShop, it is hard to find things. Let's be realistic here. It is hard to find things. I'm curious if the online service will also change the look of the eShop. Maybe they're talking with indie developers or just in general with customers. They always look for feedback. So it's not a bad thing to tell them if you think the eShop doesn't look good. They're definitely looking for feedback on this stuff. That's why they send out surveys all the time. So if you don't think it looks good, I would, mention it. They send out these emails all the time, probably in your promotional tab on Gmail. Look through them and see if they're asking about the eShop. And if not, you can actually go on their website and do feedback and everything. Or I guess you can just, we can just complain about it on the internet. I don't know. But they are looking for feedback. I don't think the eShop is in its best form for helping indie developers. I think it could look better. And I think between now and the end of the Switch's lifespan, I do think eShop is going to have a massive transformation over time. And by the time we get to the end of the Switch's lifespan, it will look way different. I would think about it like the 360 had the Blade system when it launched, and then when it ended, it was night and day. So I hope they do get to that point because visibility, I think, could use some work. Ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it for Newswave. Thank you so much for tuning in. Make sure you guys like the video if you liked it, dislike it if not. Leave comments down below about everything we talked about today, whether it is the Switch kind of taking some dominance in Japan now with day-and-date releases selling better on the Switch as opposed to the PS4. I do think the system will continue selling heavily and will pass the PS4. And yeah, you're gonna wanna pick up a Switch if you want those JRPGs or just Japanese-inspired games. It's kind of getting to that point. What about Destiny 2 going to PlayStation Plus for September? Are you excited because you just didn't try it and you just say, hey, I'll download it and we'll see what we have here. Thank you so much for watching, guys, and I'll see you next time.